Hi everybody, this is Analys Milano. If you are watching this video, sadly I couldn't make it to the live session. So that's the reason because of this backup video. So for starting, I would like to thank all the committee and organizers of this amazing international conference, in which the topic of the main topic is really something I'm passionate about. And of course, ESP around the world, around the globe, and teaching and research is something really important. And I'm really engaged, motivated by this event. And I feel a huge responsibility to be the first one speaking. So let's start. As I tell you, my name is Analys Milano, and today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how ESP is in Venezuela and the challenges for teaching training we have been facing the last decade and probably more than that. So the agenda for today, we're going to introduce a little bit about Venezuela. I'm going to explain a little bit and how, in general, how is ESP approaching Venezuela. Then we are going to move to the challenge for teaching training, our expectations and the things we are doing in our community of practice in order to overcome all this challenge and to get that teaching training we need and the professional development, and some final considerations I think may be interesting to hear. So let's start talking about Venezuela. First, it is a South American Caribbean country located in the center of the American continent. We border with Brazil, with Guyana, Colombia, and the Caribbean with so many islands. This makes us understand the importance of iterations in other languages. For example, we have English in Guyana, we have French in the Caribbean, also English, Papiamento, we have Portuguese with Brazil, and Colombia is also Spanish speaking country. So this makes Venezuelans understand the importance of learning a new language. However, since Spanish is spoken in different countries in here, some people doesn't get the importance of learning English in the field, but they think English is important if they want to migrate. Now, talking about the higher education programs here in Venezuela, there is a variety of them, even though we are kind of well known because of our oil or petroleum industry and the sports, because it accounts more than the 75% of government revenue. There is also other fields that are being quite developed here in Venezuela. For example, we have medicine, renewable resources. In the coast, we have some fishery engineering, which in fact is taught here in the university where I teach. But the higher education program most of the time are going to depend on the location of the institution. For example, I live in Paraguay. It's the little hill you are seeing here. This is Paraguay, and we have the greatest, one of the greatest refineries around the world. So most of the higher education programs here in Paraguay try to meet the expectations for those who want to work in the refinery. So we are going to find a lot of engineering programs, chemical, mechanical, industrial, petrochemical. So they also try to survive with the main necessities, medicine, education, arts, culture. So even though, as I say, we have a huge petroleum industry, there are a lot of things that surrounds Venezuela and its higher education programs. So according to the locations, so we are going, institutions try to meet the expectations of what they need in the government, in the small scale government, in order to provide the professional for those kind of fields. So how is teaching in Venezuela? First, most of the courses are skill-based, And I think most of the institutions focus on reading. It can be for academic purposes or for professional purposes, but most of the time they focus on reading comprehension. And one of the particularities of this is that even though students read in English, they produce whatever they understood and comprehend in Spanish. So this also is a thing that happens so many debates about this approach, but this is how happened here in Venezuela. And also there is a vocabulary versus content debate, because sometimes they need a specific vocabulary, but sometimes they need to comprehend some specific content. So teachers debate which should focus first, vocabulary or content. Also, need analysis is not always performed in most of the institutions. And when I said need analysis, I speak about the big scale, to go to the field, institutions, to find the lacks, needs, the wants. But we try to make like small need analysis in order to understand what does a student want to learn, why, and most of the time we try to get from our students topics, what are their interests, in order to try to mix and to get to come with something that they are going to be motivated to read or to speak about. Even though, and lastly, because there is not always an analysis, they may not exist a course design. And when I talk about this, I talk about the paper. If you are a new teacher here in Venezuela and you ask for a course design or for a plan, education plan, you may find that there is anything. They're probably going to tell you, okay, you're going to teach ESP, you have to teach reading for related to their field. And when you're here field, you have to understand the fact that is for occupational purposes, and that's all. So you have to try to take out all your knowledge in order to provide the students with the knowledge and the strategies that you know they need according to the skill they're going to develop. So if there is not a course design, most of the time it's because there is anything to follow. So this is also related to the materials. So we don't use specific textbooks. We do use authentic material. We try to create new materials sometimes. We try to look for magazines, journals, to try to make some compilations. But there is not like we follow a specific editorial textbook. Now, this use of material, kind of use of material, lead us to understand the fact that most of the institutions and most of the teachers sometimes create, develop, or design their own material. But the main problem is that this is a time-consuming activity. So not all the teachers have the time to do this. So sometimes they prefer just to look for a specific text, just look for the specific video or the podcast they are going to use, and just work with it instead of making a complete guide or a complete follow with some steps in order to have a material, a complete material. Now, evaluation. This is something that I don't kind of like, but I have seen this so many times already, and it's something difficult to change in here. The fact that most of the time evaluation is focused on knowledge about the language instead of students' performance. And when I say this, it's because sometimes if you are, for example, teaching about suffixes or affixes in general, sometimes teachers, instead asking for how does the meaning change according to this, they ask for what type of suffix or prefix is this. Okay, so this is something related to the approach some institutions have, but it's our reality. So this is the way that ESP is teaching in Venezuela. So what are the challenges we face when addressing teacher training. First, when we think about professional development, we know that there is a lack of courses to help the service and novice teachers. So most of the teachers, when they're going to teach ESP, they don't really know what is ESP, what are the strategies, what is the framework in which they are going to work. They don't even know what are the theoretical foundation for ESP. During 2012, there was an event organized by British Council and UPEL, another institution here in Venezuela, that was called Who Needs English. There was a ESP roundtable with a working groups, in where one of the conclusions was that there wasn't any course, even for teachers that were getting to learn how to be English teacher or foreign language teachers, and they didn't have a course. There was just one university that have an introduction to ESP. The university I come from, in fact, and in the university where I work, and this experience just give you a small introduction just to understand the theoretical aspects, maybe some strategies, but there is so much information to deal with that sometimes we as students don't get everything, and it's difficult to just to get everything from that course alone. In 2018, during the American Congress for Teachers, Mesa also spoke up about this lack of courses, but also she speak up about the lack of spaces to share experience, because most of the teachers go through a self-learning journey in which they grow up learning what is ESP, what are strategies, how to deal with vocabulary and all this stuff. But there is not a specific place. There are no meetings, there are no conventions for ESP teachers in what those outcomes or research are used. Finally, this unknown situation with ESP and this situation with the self-learning without outcome take us to have a lot of identity as ESP. So when teachers have this lack of identity because all the difficult experience when grasping their role as a teachers happen, they don't understand the fact that they can ask their institutions to look for professional development for them because they need it. So it's like they impose themselves that, okay, I have to learn, and they are not sure about what they're going to teach, and they don't even know where to find real information. We have internet, but who should I look for? What should I look for? So there are some misconceptions that happens during all these stages that don't get teachers understand that they need professional development. These misconceptions, I don't want you to feel offended. This is something that happened within the community of teaching English as a foreign language here in Venezuela. And this happens because people doesn't really understand, because there is a lack of understanding of what is ESP. So just for the small group that teach ESP or that have experience, a lot of experience teaching ESP and have been connected with other people, understand it. But most of the time you may find out that some teachers believe this misconception. For example, if you are interested in teaching ESP, they may say that you cannot fully develop your English skills. They say sometimes, okay, if you don't do well teaching general English, well, you can go and teach ESP, it's easier, which is not. And when they face the reality, they understand that, okay, this is not what I thought this is going to be. For some administrators, because sometimes we can use mother tongue, and most of the time we use our mother tongue, they think that it doesn't require too much work. So they, instead of giving you 5 or 4 groups, They give you 6 or 7, and they don't understand the fact that you have to prepare material, you have to look for information, you have to get everything done, and according to each specialty, you have to change everything. So most of the time, they don't get that. For the ones that likes to research, things that ESP is an approach that doesn't change. So even though we understand the fact that all the theoretical aspects, all the theoretical or the state of art of ESP is already set, we are an approach and we are teaching under this approach, which is closely connected to the society for this specific community. So as much as each community grow up and change, ESP also is going to change, and as society change, and we have now internet, all these technological aspects coming into our classrooms, there is a need of keep changing according to the way we teach and how we use everything in order to provide this knowledge to our students in order to get them to develop their skills. There are some people that are really interested in culture, and when they are going to teach ESP, they think that there is no need of cultural awareness because they are just reading, or they are just going to have this academic writing, for example. But this is kind of things to think about, and this is, I think, this topic is not really developed within our community, because when we understand the fact that the concept of culture is so interesting, we have this culture with the big C and small c, and when we understand the fact that culture is not just about traditions, about literature, about art, but it's also about the pattern of communication within a specific community and the way they develop themselves, the way they think about themselves, make you act according to them in order to be accepted in this community. So this happened in work, this happened in a community of practice. So this is also culture, and this is also a route, an approach, a topic that we have to think about bringing out in our ESP classes. Finally, the future, some of them things that is not a field that you can grow up within, but as you can see, this amazing committee took everybody, make us work together in order to bring this amazing conference. In the future, I believe that ESP is the future for teaching English for adults, because most of them are looking for learning language in a meaningful way, in a specific way, in order to get what they are looking for. So there's misconceptions sometimes lead to this expectation versus reality. Some of them are going to have a really hit on the face when they understand specific vocabulary that they're going to use in teaching ESP. So when they have this need of familiarity with the vocabulary and the fact that teachers have to get used to research for themselves in order to understand these concepts that you may not know even in your mother tongue, they understand that ESP is not easy. It's not that something you can take it easy in doing this. You have also to be we have to be hardworking. And if you are in an institution, for example, where I work, this semester I'm with technology, with engineering, maybe next semester I'm going to be with nursery, fishing, and maybe the next one I'm going to be with medical school. So I have to keep changing, I keep researching, I have to get updating everywhere, I have to know about a lot of stuff, and that's really hard working. It's a hard working thing with it. Also dealing with a specificity. Once you know how to work within the ESP field, you have to deal with the mismatches between the courses and the reality. And you have to be that bridge between what students want and what the reality is and what the institution tell you to teach. So we have to work to make it work for everybody, and sometimes also requires a lot of work for teachers to make students understand that what they are learning is meaningful for them, even though they want to learn more. We are also have to make them understand where they are right now and how they can get the knowledge they want. Finally, students' English background here in Venezuela sometimes is really low. So because there is, when you go to the classroom, you are going to find out there is a deficit on the basic English foundation for learning for specific purposes. This is because high school sometimes doesn't have all these teachers they need. So we have also to prepare the material for this differentiation instruction within our ESP context. So what our expectation from our community of practice, how we are going to face this challenge, what we are doing right now, because we want to grow as a community and we are advocating to make meaningful activities. We are doing some networking through Bintisol. We try to get to know all the teachers and those who are within TESOL International also goes to the intersection groups and try to bring what they learn, what they see over there to the TESOL teams. Through Latin American and Caribbean TESOL, some webinars have been done, also joining with TESOL. And we try to make our teachers to participate in this, even though they are sometimes for general or some for specific topics that may not be all related to ESP. We try to make them come in and learn, because we want them to transfer whatever they learn to the ESP classrooms. So we try to connect with British Council and the US Department of State, courses, MOOCs, and whatever we have through internet in order to make them learn, because this is we want them to grow up as an individual, and we make our teachers understand if you grow up as an individual, you can transfer your knowledge for your ESP classroom. Some institutions are working, there is a group of teachers that we are working on this ESP course diploma. It's like a 6-module course, a proposal we are doing right now, in order to include those who doesn't know and wants to know about ESP. Finally, for this year, we want to bring to the TESOL convention some workshops. For our hybrid convention, we want them to have on their online and also in the in-situ activities. And we are thinking about getting an annual meeting, and I'm really excited for this conference because I wanted to show them that we can make it possible. It is possible to be done. So finally, some words. Times are changing, so let's connect with others. I think we can make things quite interesting when we connect and we share our experience. So let's try to cascade whatever we learn, and let's share our experience as ESP practitioners. Try to get to know other teachers. If you find out somebody else is teaching ESP and starting to teach, try to work as a mentor. And if you are new in this, try to look for a mentor, BMT, that is interested in learning about ESP. For those who are interested in research, let's try to go beyond expectation. There is a lot of things to work here in our field of ESP. And this is what we want to reflect this to our teachers here in Venezuela. And also to the world. We want to connect because we have internet, and this is something possible. Finally, believe in yourself. ESP was born because there was a need of specific English for this specific field. And this specific field and this specific necessity also need a specific teacher. And that teacher is you, and that teacher is me. So we have to understand that we are needed, so we shouldn't be afraid of whatever may come, because we are growing up as a community, and this is the future, and the future is now. So thank you so much. Here are the reference. If you want them, let me know. You can connect here with my information, my email. I'm going to leave it down in the comments. So here I go, my information. So let's connect. So see you later. Thanks for coming. If you have any questions, I will be glad to answer to that.